What's up, my dudes? Valk here, and today we are making the list that's going to piss everyone off. There's going to be people who don't agree with this list, but before we get into it, I want to first lay down the rules of this list. This is going to be the top 5 worst units in the game, but rather than just putting Aloy and Traveler and saying it's all 5 stars and saying that counts, we're going to put some rules. 1, they must be a 5-star character, and 2, they must be available in the summonable pool, as in you can pull them. So essentially it's kind of like a top 5 worst characters you can pull list. Just keep in mind that basically all 5-star characters are pretty good. Just these characters have either aged poorly or are not as good as everybody else. That simple. Now that we've gotten the rules laid out, the groundwork at the foundation of the discussion, let's go ahead and let's get into it. At number 5, we have the little terror bomber, Klee. Now, number 5 was probably the hardest one for me to pick because there's so many units that are still pretty good, but they have been power crept to an extent, or they're just not as useful anymore. Number 5 was easily the hardest one for me to pick in this list. The other 4 were like a given, but this one, with Klee, a lot of people are going to be really upset because, yes, the adorable Terror Child is absolutely number 5 in my opinion. What's keeping her really relevant and really good still is the number 2, the fact that it decreases the opponent's defense by 23%. It's a massive bump, a massive booster. You're able to really dish out a lot of damage if you have her C2 with it, and she can still deal pretty good damage herself, just there is a lot better pyro characters to the point where Klee barely sees any play anymore. So, as tragic as it is, I have to put Klee as number 5. Like I said, number 5 was really close. There was a lot of characters that were up for debate. Number 5 was really hard for me to pick because there's so many characters that could fill that role, but I feel like Klee's the one that's probably the worst out of all of them. It's really close, so I had to lean towards Klee. With that being said, let's go ahead, let's get into the next one. And this one here, number 4, we have Keqing. No shock to anybody. I'm sure you guys saw this coming because everybody knows how I feel about this character and that I feel like she's not that good, but then people will be like, but Valk, what about Sukokomon? Well, Sukokomon, her main focus in Sukokomon is the fact that she can apply Hydro and a big AoE. That's pretty much it. She makes things wet. Whenever a character's main strength is applying an element, that's not really that good. Granted, she's still better than the other 3 people on this list, and that's really going to upset some people, but she's just genuinely, out of the event limited 5-star characters, I think she's genuinely the worst one to release, and this is where she ends up. She ends up on number 4 of the top 5 worst characters in Genshin Impact list. So, that being said, I don't feel like I need to talk too much on her. I feel like everybody kind of knows because everything that went down with her. We'll go ahead, we'll move on to number 3. At number 3, we have deluge. And what's sad about this is I unironically love deluge. I have him C3. I hope to one day get him C6 just by passively wishing. Just by trying to summon all the characters. Hopefully I can get deluge to C6. But I actually adore deluge. I think he's a super fun character, but he has been power crept to all hell. At C6, he's still a monster because his C6 has a lot of power behind it. And his constellations, almost every single one of them, are really good. They're all damage focused, all damage oriented constellations. But for most people that have him at C0, he's just genuinely not that good of a DPS in comparison to other units. And people can be like, but Valk, my deluge does really well. Well, that's the thing, is that if you put the resources you invest in deluge and instead invest in, I don't know, a Hu Tao, you'll probably be doing a hell of a lot better. That's just how it is with the units. You'll see a reoccurring theme because, spoiler alert, the next 3 units, or the next 2 units, because deluge's number 3, are all standard banner units because they have been power crept to all hell. They are not even that good anymore, and they clear so slowly that bringing them into Abyss could be a liability if your account is not very strong. So, with deluge, what he does, and one of the main reasons that he is not as good anymore, is he has a very slow runtime, but he is a hyper consistent DPS. What that means is that while he's on the field, he has 3 uses of his skill. He is very consistent. He plays just like Riven from League of Legends, which is one of the reasons I love him. And then he has a giant Firebird. He shoots out and blows everything up. It's really sick. And he does genuinely deal really good damage, especially if you pair him with Sing Cho. As long as you're not reverse vaping, it's something very important to keep in mind because it's very easy to do. Or you pair him with Kazuha. There's lots of ways to go through it to where you can constantly keep the pyro effect on. He can be a very strong unit still with all the supports that we have available. There's so many strong supports in Genshin Impact. And like I said at the beginning, if you were to take all these resources and put them into another character, such as Hu Tao, then there's no reason to ever use the Luke outside of Batman is cool, because Hu Tao does everything he does just way, way, way better. And now, time for people to hate me, because at number 2, we have Kuching. Now, Keqing is one that's going to upset a lot of people that she is literally number 2 on the list, but she was never a very strong DPS to begin with, and time has not been good to her. She's gotten some tools such as Shimenawa and Mistsplitter. You can see I've actually built up my Keqing. I actually unironically used her. A lot of people think I'm just going to poop on Keqing without ever actually giving her a shot. No, I've built her up. I've got her maxed. I actually used the hell out of Keqing. Keqing was actually my first DPS in the game, so it hurts me as much as it hurts you, but I try to be as unbiased as possible whenever I make these lists and kind of speak from my own opinion. So, well, I guess you can't really have an opinion without being biased, huh? Yeah. So, basically, what makes Keqing so bad is the fact that she just genuinely does not deal enough damage, and the fact that a lot of her damage is tied to her charge attack. But her charge attack stamina cost is 25, which is one of the highest stamina cost charge attacks in the game. You can look, that's 25, because there's a polearm, but you gotta find another sword user. We check out Qiqi, Qiqi's 20. All the sword users are 20 except for Kuching, she is 25. And the reason for that is because it hits like a truck. It hits 141 and 158. And whenever she has it at Electro, she can deal Electro damage, so you can get Kazuha buff, you can deal all sorts of stuff. And her ult hits pretty hard as well. She is a okay unit. The issue is that although it does do good damage, it doesn't do great damage. To the point where she's clearing behind current meta units. Most meta units like Xiao and Ganyu, the difference between maxed out clear speeds is like a couple seconds. Most units are like that. Arataki Ito, a couple seconds different. Keqing is around 20 to 30 seconds clear speed behind the best units in the game, and that's why she's number 2 on this list, is that she's genuinely a liability to run just like Deluge inside the current floor 12, unless you have a very strong account. If you have a very strong account, you can literally run whatever you want. You could run Barber DPS, who cares? The game is easy. But if you are still getting to that point, if you have not been playing the game forever, she is a genuine liability to run. So next, we're going to go ahead and we're going to go to number 1, and it should not shock anybody. And number 1 on my list is Qiqi. Now, this is sad because I actually like Qiqi. I got her C5, I'm waiting on the C6, because her C6 is actually decent, but all of her other constellations are boo-boo. But this is a unit whose sole thing that she does is heal. And she excels at it, do not get me wrong. She is a fantastic healer. But there are so many other characters in Genshin, like Jean, Bennett, etc., who heal and do other things. Who heal and do all sorts of other really good stuff that makes it where solo healers, where their sole purpose to heal, that makes them virtually useless. It's one of the main gripes against Kokomi is the fact that she just purely heals. She also has damage she can do, and she's a giant AoE Hydro applicator, which saves her. She has decent damage, not great, but Qiqi has none of the damage. She is a terrible cryo applicator because this only procs like once every second or so, every half second or second. It's a very terrible cryo application. She is just genuinely not that good, and she can't even generate her own energy despite having an 80 cost ult. She has to have somebody battery her because this does not generate energy at all. So she has to be on a team as a second cryo, and she is a sole healer that provides nothing other than healing. I genuinely adore Qiqi. I even have a video about why Qiqi's actually good. That was made way in the beginning of the game. It was made over a year ago before people go crazy. Because as time has gone on, it's shown that healers are not relevant. Healers do not matter except for in the early game. But whenever you get closer and closer to endgame, you stop healing because you just deal so much damage. They can't hurt you if they're dead. But yes, this is our number 1 at our list. We have Qiqi. So let me know what you guys think about my list in the comment section below. Let me know if you guys agree or disagree with any of the reasonings, because I know this list is going to piss some people off. I absolutely know that's true, because nobody wants their favorite unit to be in the top 5 worst characters in the game. It just is what it is. We got to talk about stuff objectively, hopefully objectively, and about how we actually think, because in the end, a lot of characters in this game are very similar in terms of power. Of course, you have the Liyue Big 3, who are very close together in terms of strength. You have all these characters who are really, really close together in terms of power, but there is some room for discussion for best and worst and etc. Just, it tends to end up being a my favorites contest whenever you have these discussions. So try to keep that in mind. Try to put your favorite characters aside and try not to lambaste people for just not having the same opinion as you. Try to have some civil discussions about it. Anyways, that's the list. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching. As always, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.